Okay, let's run.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Ryan of And I Quote channel. Welcome to And I Quote. This is a weekly show where we introduce you to creators from all over the world, and we find out more about them by taking your questions. Our guest on this episode is someone who is very, very busy, and it's incredibly fortunate that we have him on this episode because he's so busy with his own podcast and molding young minds as a teacher, independent writer, and extraordinarily gifted podcaster. Please welcome Jason DeHart is finally in the building. Apparently, he's got a brick wall behind him for a studio. That's interesting. Must be coming to us live from somewhere, USA. Hello,
Absolutely.
Jason, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's the kitchen. I just don't want you to see the dishes that haven't been done yet and all of those sort of things. So the brick wall seems sort of, I don't know, Pink Floyd or something like that.
Cue up the song. Wait, we can't because it's copyrighted.
That's right. That's right.
But
I loved that opening montage. Great to follow that.
Mm-hmm. No, that's completely fair. And we thank you for being with us. We also thank you maybe watching or listening to this. Don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. If you have any questions for Jason as we go through the course of this program, let us know in those comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're joining us live or on our replay, we thank you specifically so much for being here. We greatly appreciate it. With that out of the way, Jason, what would you say were some of your favorite books or writers growing up?
Oh my goodness, books or writers growing up. I was a Batman fan, so it's great that we opened with that Michael Keaton aspect of the montage. I mean, I think that was what got me into reading the Batman 1989 film, along with comics. My parents would get me comics, especially when I was homesick, and so that was a big lead in. But then, you know, in the 90s, when we didn't have as much middle grades and young adult fiction, I navigated my way into the worlds of like Michael Crichton, who was also connected to the movies that I loved, and then discovered Kurt Vonnegut, Ray Bradbury. Oh my goodness. So many awesome voices out there, and always a science fiction fan, always like reality plus a little bend, reality plus a guy in a rubber bat suit. That was my reading life growing up.
Well, it's fair to say that life finds a way.
It does. It does. Cue the music. That's
And
right.
I know where's our good friend John Williams when you need him? John, are you here? No, he's not here. I'm sorry. My producer just told me he's not in today.
He's
But maybe he'll be in tomorrow. You never know. And then we'll bring Jason DeHart back and we'll do this whole this one part of the interview all over again.
I don't want to like infringe on copyright, but hopefully that's safe.
That'd be great. Maybe John will come in and play for us. He'll do a live symphony orchestra or conduct, excuse me, a symphony orchestra live. That would be great. Wouldn't it, John? Wouldn't that be great? We should bring him in here. Honestly, that man's been going for, gosh, so many decades. Bless that man's heart. He's pushing like, what was it, 95, 96, 97, whatever it is, and he's still going.
He is, and it's amazing stuff. Sets the mood of my childhood for sure.
But then again, when is it not? I mean, John Williams has covered so many different generations of film fans and audiences across the globe. So nothing wrong with that. Just out of curiosity, though, because this is a bit of a sidebar question. Favorite John Williams score?
Oh, goodness. I think the song that gets me up most and like gets me into the zone of teaching and doing the things is probably the Superman 1978. Yeah, the way it starts out, you know, kind of slow and then builds. And I'll play that sometimes in my class, and my students will be like, "Is that Star Wars?" And I'm like, "Interesting that you would say that." Or they'll be like, "Is that Indiana Jones?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, now let me tell you about this." There are so many moments in my class that it's like, "Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about this guy that also did the film in this, the music in this film." The connections just continue.
Gee willikers, I wish I could be a fly on the wall when these conversations go. Is that Star Wars, sir? No, it's actually the iconic character known as Superman, a.k.a. the GOAT. The
That's
GOAT.
right.
Without Superman, we would have none. of what you see before. We wouldn't have the Bats, we wouldn't have the Wonder Womans, we wouldn't have the Green Lanterns, we wouldn't have the Green Arrows, right? You wouldn't have the billionaire playboy philanthropist Tony Stark. I mean, none of that stuff would have been possible without mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent of the Daily Planet, and all that stuff. None of that would have been possible.
So true. So true.
No, that's good. So it's a good thing that you know your history. Very
We
good.
try. We try.
We do, yeah. I mean, Biff Tannen would be very proud of us. You know your history. Very good. Sorry, that's a line from Part 2, in case you were wondering, because I grew up on the trilogy known as Back to the Future, like a lot of us did.
Yes.
So, all you gotta do is go 88 miles per hour and see some serious stuff. That's all you gotta do. Just make sure you bring a video camera when you're documenting these events. It's like, hey, keep rolling there, just like we're doing now. So, favorite movies or TV series growing up? Anything stand out?
X-Files. X-Files was right there. I was a little scared of it, but just enough of it to enjoy it. And superhero things were out there, but they were like, if they were on TV, you could tell the difference. It's not like now where we have amazing budgets with TV shows and they look like tiny, tiny movies that go on for weeks. And so I would occasionally check out things on TV that were superhero related, but a lot of my superhero life was either through the like once or twice a year movie or through comics and things like that. Movies growing up, of course, I mentioned the Batman series, big and out there. And then more recently, like the Christopher Nolan stuff that's not Batman tends to strike among my favorite chords. Like Inception and The Prestige are two of my favorites. Absolutely love the way that he goes about scripting those. And there are so many moments, again, pointing to like pop culture references when I'm teaching and talking about books. There's so many examples that come out of that, of foreshadowing and flashback and references and all of these things, the illusions that he brings in. I'm still trying to understand Tenet. Eventually I might, but I do enjoy his movies quite a bit.
Well, it's great you bring up Chris Nolan, because next year will be the 15th anniversary of Batman Begins.
That's right.
And we're going to be doing
years.
I know, and we're going to be doing a movie anniversary watch along right here on this channel that the person may be watching and listening to right now. So make sure you tune in for that when it comes up, and also make sure you follow that playlist for the movie nerds, where all our movie watch alongs and some of our other collaborations we've done with other channels over the years, where we're talking about different types of movies and aspect of movies, are on our movie nerds playlist. So feel free to check that out. We just did the 70th anniversary watch along for Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window recently, so feel free to look that up. James Stewart and Grace Kelly. Nothing wrong with Grace Kelly. Hello there, Grace Kelly. We love you.
Yeah.
And we miss you too. We miss you great. And we also miss all the actors and actresses of that time, because there were some great people, great talents back then. There's no doubt about it. You mentioned something about Batman. I'm just curious. In Batman '89, what's your favorite moment in the film?
Yeah, let me also give a shout back to the set design in Rear Window. Oh my goodness!
Oh sure,
great set design, like full scale. Favorite moment would of course be the inclusion of the Prince song when the Joker's like vandalizing the museum.
Party Man, yeah.
Oh yeah, and for some reason the vents in the museum looks like this giant, like something out of Alien 3 extra piece that was put in. So love that scene and love that moment, of course. And speaking of like set design, it's really fascinating to look and see, because I'm all about the moment and how the moment comes together in a piece of film, piece of literature, whatever it happens to be, the mise en scène, if you will.
Oh yeah.
The moments at the end of that movie where they're at the cathedral, it's really cool to see like the miniature work and to watch some of the documentaries about how some of those things came together. So at that point of the movie, I'm usually sad because I know that it's almost over. But the way that those scenes come together is still so very cool to me.
That's a fair point. Did you know that there is a book out that just came out earlier this week that is a direct sequel to 1989's Batman that takes place between the events of the original film as well as Batman Returns? John Jackson Miller's book, Batman Resurrection, is out right now. It's a thrilling new sequel to Tim Burton's iconic Batman from 1989. Yes, that Batman. Oh, gee, son. The book is out right now, so feel free to grab your copy. It's available everywhere you can find books, whether it's Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. You can find it on Amazon and all that stuff. We actually had John Jackson Miller was on with us about a week or so ago promoting the book on his the book tour, and also he's at New York Comic Con this weekend, tabling, signing copies of that book as well as his other pieces of work. John Jackson Miller, thank you so much for being on this show. We really enjoyed having you, and I cannot wait to read my copy of Batman Resurrection that my friend Jeff purchased for me on my behalf at New York Comic Con this weekend. Thank you, Jeff. I love you, brother. He got him to sign it, and I asked him to sign it with a certain line from the movie, and he signed it. Where does he get those wonderful toys? And I'm like, yes. Yes, it was great. And he actually just texted me earlier this morning before we went on air on this episode of And I Quote with our good guest, great guest actually, Jason DeHart. He said, "Hey, I got you one of the posters too."
Awesome. I currently have that book on my night table. It is.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm at chapter 5, I believe it is. And I won't give anything away, but the first chapter, let me tell you, it sets up the villain in a wonderful way. All the throwbacks. John Jackson Miller knows what he is doing as far as writing into these worlds and doing it in believable ways that are like honoring the fandom. So I'm looking forward to reading more. And I think he has a sequel out already scheduled for next year. So
for next fall.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Next fall. I believe it's called Batman Revolution, which is a follow-up to Batman Resurrection. So, oh my gosh, like we're getting not just one, we're getting two.
It's awesome.
So,
awesome.
Yeah,
may it continue.
Oh, please. Yeah. And John Jackson Miller, I can't wait to read the book once it comes to me. Like I said, my friend Jeff got it for me at New York Comic Con this weekend. Thank you, Jeff. And by the way, I hope all my friends and peeps who are tabling at New York Comic Con have great sales, great numbers this weekend. Our hats are off to you for working very, very hard to promote your work and other people's work too, because indie supports indie. So let's do our best to build each other up and not tear each other down. Once again, this is And I Quote with the guest of honor, I should say, and fellow Batman fan, no less. So he and I are going to become really, really good friends now. If we weren't already, when we were talking in the green room, getting our morning breakfast and coffee, getting ready for this episode, don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. If you're watching this live on a replay, thank you so much for doing so. And if you have any questions for Jason or about his love and passion for books or comics in this case, because I didn't know you were a comic fan. I mean, I knew you were a book fan, but it's like, oh, comic books now? Well, I'm just curious. Do you have any long boxes in your house?
I do. I have one long box. It's on loan from a friend. There's a great comic sharing community that we have. I do a show with him called the Comic Obsessive. Yeah. He's a busy dad, so we occasionally get together, and that format of that show is more like we'll challenge each other to read an issue and talk about it, and occasionally we have a guest on. But podcasts are just great ways to connect with people. They really are.
Okay.
His name is Adam.
Oh, Adam. Okay, fantastic. Is that show or that project of yours? Is that on your social media? Can people find that?
It is. Yeah. If you log on to the Facebook group, Words, Images, and Worlds, when we have a new one up, I always put it out there. And then he also has an Instagram out under the same moniker, the Comic Obsessive.
Oh, the Comic Obsessive. Wow, that is okay. Comic Obsessive. OCD, anybody?
Absolutely. Undiagnosed, but claiming it. Absolutely.
Listen, if you're passionate about comic books and sharing it with the world and sharing more information about them with the world, I don't see a harm in that. I don't see a problem with that. I think you're doing the world more good than harm, as one of the reverse expressions may go. But hey, that's just me. So we talked about I'm Batman. Let's see here. What made you decide to become a writer?
I don't know that I ever had a choice. I think it was reading stuff that I enjoyed early in life and then realizing that I wanted to create stuff too. So from the earliest of ages that I can remember my parents reading to me, which was huge. I can remember them buying me books. And then I remember sitting at a kitchen table, much like I'm sitting at this morning and talking with you, and getting notebooks and, tracing the panels, drawing things out. I grew up sort of in the country out where imagination could sort of reach and grow. And so I remember thinking, well, what would happen if I just pulled this giant rock aside and I could step into this fantasy world? So writing was a big deal for me growing up that way, responding to the things that I enjoyed. And then in middle school, in the 8th grade, I had a teacher who read something that I wrote and said, oh, yeah, you're a good writer. You should consider doing this. You should totally write. And that was the first time, at least that I remember, that I had a teacher look at something I did or respond to me in some way at school and be like, you're good at this. You should keep doing this. And from there, I started publishing poetry. I got numerous rejections on countless pages of things that I put out into the world. And then about 10, 12 years ago, my partner at the time said, you should get back into this. You should do this. And I followed her advice and haven't looked back since. And so the rejection started to turn into acceptances, with the occasional rejection sprinkled in. And that journey has just grown and continued. And can I hold up the book? Is that okay? Will it turn?
Oh,
into
absolutely.
a wall
Yeah, go ahead.
behind me? Yeah. So the current book right there is Building Critical Literacy and Empathy. Let me try that again and say literacy correctly. Building Critical Literacy and Empathy with Graphic Novels. And that's what it looks like when it disappears. Oh, it's back. Oh my goodness. The zoom tricks. Look at that. Ah, even better.
Well, yeah, we come prepared on this set, buddy. So it's all good. We got you covered.
Fantastic.
But yeah, nice cover, by the way.
Yeah, I can't take credit. Someone at NCTE designed that, and love the cover, and they let me have like participation in figuring out which one was the best one. That's the most credit that I can take.
Oh, no, it's all fair. It's all fair. It's all good. And congratulations on that. And other things you got going on. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being a writer or a podcaster?
Well, podcasting, you get to have conversations like this. You get to meet people that you connect with, you vibe with, and you get to talk about the things that you're interested in. In many cases, like the work you and I do, we get to talk to the people that created these things, or they become your 6 degrees of separation to other people that did. So you get to kind of give historically that way. And then in writing, getting to be part of the larger conversation, and knowing that, maybe something you write will go out there, speak to somebody else, inspire somebody else, hopefully in a good way. And it gets to be kind of something that you've said and shared that gets to live on. I had a poem, Beak Boy was the name of this poem. And I put it out into the world, published it for free on some poetry website. And this professor in the United Kingdom sent me this email and said, can I use this in my classroom? I love this. It spoke to this moment in my life when I had a coming out experience. And I was like, well, that wasn't what the poem was about to me, but I put it out into the world. It's spoken to someone else on not necessarily the other side of the globe, but, somewhere far removed. And now who knows where that poem has gone, or who remembers it, or who's read it and continued to read it. So that's kind of the cool thing about sending those signals out, and someone picks it up and carries it on.
My goodness gracious. That's just more phenomenal, my friend. And
It
the best,
is a weird, strange world, but wonderful.
wasn't that a song at one point? No, I'm kidding. I mean, it might have been. I don't know. Maybe Pink Floyd or some of the other bands out there at the time maybe put something together. It's a weird world. I don't know.
I like how music is like the punctuation mark in our conversation. Like every now and then we'll be like, oh yeah, that reminds me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the music I've heard over the course of my life, I first heard in movies, because I watch movies so much that they use other people's music in film to communicate what's going on in a scene, or just to set the mood, set the tone. I mean, obviously instrumental scores by John Williams, Hans Zimmer, James Horner, Thomas Newman, for example. I mean, all those scores are great, but when you get a little piece of music thrown in there, whether it's a song by Aerosmith or Pink Floyd, or something by Stevie Nicks maybe, or Peter Gabriel, those songs speak to the heart, man. They
do.
They say that music is the language of the soul, so it's it works for that, for sure. On the flip side of the coin, though, what are some of the biggest challenges about being a writer or podcaster?
Putting yourself out there. The thing with writing is the rejection part. Everybody talks about the rejection part, and it's real, and it does take the perseverance. It does take all of the coffee, all of the encouragement to continue through that. But eventually what seems to happen is that you do it so much, either that you just find your people, or you get better, or both. It's probably both. And so that's definitely the thing. Conquering the blank page and having the courage and the tenacity to do that is a big deal. As far as podcasting, I was a little shy to put my voice and face out into the world at one point in time. And then I don't know if it's middle age. I don't know if it's life changes. But at a certain point, I had enough people that had invited me to speak and engage in podcasting. I thought, well, why not put this out there? It's something I believe in. And I'm an introvert by nature, but I am an introvert who is extroverted on purpose. So there are moments where I believe something. I believe in literacy, I believe in comics, I believe in teaching. And so I will be the awkward man sitting in front of the brick wall talking about it because it's something I believe in. So why not?
Fair enough. Fair enough. What do you like the most about teaching?
It always changes. It's always creative. You don't have the same students every year. You have a different set of students. You have students who are interacting with the world in different ways. And it's never one and done. It's never something that you just have figured out. I love getting to teach a new book. I'm teaching Lord of the Flies for the first time, connecting with the inner savagery of my adolescent youth right now and trying to decide how much do I really agree with William Golding at this point. Or like last year, I got to teach Superman Birthright. So I'll use comics in the classroom too. And I mean, we're talking like references to Moses. We're talking about the ways that at the beginning of that book, there are changes that are made, like Superman's mother is more the central figure that's like, yeah, let's take care of him. Whereas Jor-El is often that figure in the classic stories. And so just finding the ways that stories connect that way and finding new ways to do it. It's a very cool thing. And then of course the students bring their humor, their magic to the situation too.
And every semester you get a new group, or every year you get a new group of students. That means 25, 30 different sets of personalities, 25, 30 sets of problems. So, you're running the gamut here, man. You're running through a gauntlet, so to speak, being thrown, the gauntlet's being thrown down at you, so to speak. By the way, Superman Birthright, that was written by Mark Waid, was it not?
It was, absolutely.
Yeah, I read that. That's a good one, man. I'm a big Mark Waid fan. I actually had him on here on the podcast not too long ago to talk about how much I loved his work on Kingdom Come with Alex Ross.
Oh yeah, I would love to have him on at some point. He's never been on Words, Images, and Worlds, but that book particularly is great because there are those classic beats of a Superman story that come along, but he just found such interesting ways to build in some different parts of the mythology and really add to it.
Yeah. Done a great job. He's done some great works over the years. Feel free to check him out at your local comic shops, which, by the way, support your LCS when you get a chance, ladies and gentlemen. Supporting your local comic shop is very good for life. It's good for business, and it supports your community. So feel free to go out there. Maybe buy some Batman comics, since Jason can't be quiet about it, about how much he loves The Dark Knight. Go buy some Batman comics, because Lord knows how many runs of this are there? Like hundreds of thousands of runs?
29 billion. Yeah.
Yeah, in the word, just take your pick.
Go to the back wall and check out some indie stuff too. Absolutely.
Well, yes, I'm going to encourage you to do that as well, because we've actually, and you and I kind of do, we do the same thing here. We have a lot of indie comic book creators and writers and inkers on our shows, such as people from Silverline Comics. We've had Carissa Grant on these programs. We've had Lori Calcaterra on these programs. We've had Rob Multeri of LoneWolfComics.com. Make sure you check him out. He's got a new Kickstarter going on right now for, I believe it's issue number 9 of Nightwolf, about a young boy in high school who discovers he's from a lineage of werewolves. Yeah,
we've all been there.
Yeah, we've all had our issues, right? No pun intended, comic book readers. Ha ha ha. Yeah, where's the drum beat when you need it, Ponga? No, I'm sorry. We can't get that here. But anyway, what we can give you is a great episode of Anti-Quote, which is what we're presenting to you right now with our guest of honor, Jason DeHart, and Superman/Batman fan, which means he's a fan of the world's finest. So nothing wrong with that at all. DC for the win, folks. I respect both DC and Marvel for different reasons, but DC is my number one, because Superman is my number one. So yeah, it's just how I feel. But you can like both. It's okay to like both. You're allowed to like both. You should like both. It's fine. But don't forget to like and share this with all of your closest friends. If you have any questions for Jason, let us know in those comments or the chat rooms. And if you're joining us live or on a replay, we thank you specifically so much for being with us. What pieces of advice would you offer to aspiring writers out there?
Keep at it. Absolutely keep at it. Read the things that you enjoy. Don't apologize for enjoying some of those things. Did you go through that phase in life where you would go to the comic section of the bookstore and kind of feel like, what if someone sees me here? What if someone sees me reading a comic? Did you ever have that?
I never went through that because I didn't get into comics until much later in life. Speaking of Batman, I started reading comics on Batman Day 2017 in my local comic shop in Annapolis, Maryland, in September
Nice.
of 2017. So now it's been, what is it, 17 plus now? What has it been, 7 years? 7 years since I've been reading comics. So yeah, sorry, Jason, I don't have an Eat Your Hollywood story to follow up with you on that.
No, no worries, no worries. I just remember that time I had first started teaching, and of course, I was trying to be the paragon of great literature, all the things that the kids just vibe with immediately. You know, you got your John Steinbeck, you got your Eudora Welty. Kids just love stuff like that. But I remember going to Books a Million, and I was in the comics section, and I was kind of like, "What's gonna happen if somebody sees me here?" And it's fine. Don't even worry about it. Just read the things that you enjoy, see the craft moves that people do, and then find your own voice. I went through a big phase where I wrote way too much like David Mamet. It was hilariously bad. And then I went through a phase where I wrote way too much like Kurt Vonnegut. Also, kind of a besmirching of his work in that way because I love him. And I know that I was approximating, but I wasn't getting there. And so somewhere along the way, I found a little bit more of my voice. And that's just it. You keep rolling that boulder up the hill, you get up. Some editor says, "You're never going to do this." And you just say, "No, no, I'm going to keep going." Absolutely. And I can't emphasize reading enough. Your shirt says it all as well. It's great for empathy, building connections. It makes you a better human. It helps you become better at reading. Who knew that reading would help you become better at reading? And it also connects you with people around the world. You connect your story to other things that can help you along. So that's the key to it all, I think, is trying to be a decent human and trying to keep reading and listening to people's stories. And then find the part of your story that you want to share. Have the courage to share what you want to share, and have the self-knowledge not to share the details of your journey that it's really no one else's business. All that's totally cool.
I think it's fair to say I think Jason should be the new hype man for this channel.
We try.
You're killing it, man. I mean, the best way we can react to this, and a lot of the statements you just made here, is simply this.
Yes! Hell yeah! Hey, come on, baby! Come on! Yes! Come on! Ah! Yes! Yes!
I mean,
That felt good.
Yeah. We just need to show our appreciation for everything you just said there. And you went over this a little earlier, but I feel like we should address this just a little bit more. What was the process like for you putting this book together, building critical literacy and empathy with graphic novels? What was the process like?
It came together in a way that I never thought would happen for writing a book like this. During the pandemic, if you remember that time when the world tipped over,
Oh, yeah.
I was working at Appalachian State University in Boone, North Carolina during that time. And I put in a conference proposal for NCTE, National Council for Teachers of English. And I actually didn't wind up doing the presentation, but it was about comics. It was an all online conference because, as I mentioned, the world tipped over. And I had this person from NCTE reach out and say, "Hey, we're really interested in this. Would you ever be interested in writing a book about this?" And I was like, "Yeah, I absolutely would. I absolutely would." And so I immediately started reaching out to people and saying, "This happened. This person did this and connected with me." And people were really encouraging. A couple of people wanted to join the project that ultimately weren't able to do so. But I got to work with them and talk with them and implement some of that conversation in the way that I thought about the book. And so I reached back out to the editor that had contacted me and I said, "We're on, let's do this." And I got a polite email back that said, "That person is no longer with us." And so I got the dial tone. But then that conversation was passed on to another editor who took the project on. And as I mentioned at the time I was working on the book, I was also teaching at App State. And so a lot of the content, a lot of the ideas that I was sharing in classes with grad students and undergrad students wound up inspiring the book. And it features conversations with multiple creators, which was another step toward doing a podcast and including voices that way. So I had a blast writing it. I had a blast thinking about the different topics to include, and just showcasing as many comics, graphic novels, and authors and artists as I could, which is always a hat tip moment, a chance to get to point to someone else and say, hey, check out what they're doing. Check out what you can do in your classroom or what you can enjoy as a reader based on what these people are sharing in the world. So that's a little bit about how it came together. And of course, multiple edits and rewrites in the process too. For those that don't know, that's something to expect unless you're self-publishing. There will be edits and rewrites, and that's part of the perseverance as well.
Yeah, as you know, I wrote a short story that needed to be go back. I had to go back and edit a lot of things over the course of its development because, you know, when you start writing, it's a rough draft for a reason. You know, it's rough, man. But once you go back in there, dig your heels in, you know, figure out where the story's going, figure out the pace of it, get the words put together properly, and the grammar and the spelling and the censors and the structure of it, I should say, the structure of a story. You're going to be good to go, and you know, you'll have it made in the shade, as one might say. So, hey, nothing wrong with reading, and there's certainly nothing wrong with writing your own stuff and putting it down on paper, or in technology's case, just put it on your laptop. People have Google Docs, Word documents. Use them wisely and have fun with it because, hey, you're saving on paper by just typing it up on a screen.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
And then your hand's not going to be cramped. So you know.
I'm a big fan of saving those drafts too. Save the things that you've written and worked on, look back at them. And then you're talking about having to go through and do edits. I once had to do, I think it was 9 versions of a column for a journal. And it wasn't a paid piece. It was something that I was doing because I wanted to be in this journal because it was part of my work. But I mean, they were little tiny, like, disagreement kind of edits. But then the cool thing is the person that edited that column saw the persistence that I had and has since invited me to do 2 additional projects with him because he's like, this guy's serious. He's willing to go in and do the work. And so that's always a nice thing too.
Boy, you really do have it made in the shade, Jason DeHart. Fantastic. This guy's got more credibility than 5,000 credit cards could ever get. So that probably doesn't make much sense at all, but I just made it up as I go because in the words of our good friends at Raiders of the Lost Ark, I don't know, I'm making this up as I go.
The APR is a killer, though. The APR is a killer.
Yeah. That's something to look out for. Just be wise about certain things, folks. That's all I can say. Have there been any special memories for you from being at conventions or book signings or other events, whether you're there as a vendor or there as an attendee?
I love connecting with people at like Comic Cons and things like that. Daryl Banks is probably the kindest person to me. He immediately comes to mind as somebody that did like a little sketch for me and has written and created in the world of Green Lantern, and just a very, very kind soul he is. Getting to connect with people like Sarah Meyer, who created the graphic novel Monstrous. They're a wonderful person, wonderful creator, and I got to speak with Sarah for an event a few summers ago, and so great connections there. And then, you know, you have your classic folks. Howard Chaykin is he is humorous and always witty and great to talk to in person. Just a blast to talk to in an interview. And I could go on and name several people, but wonderful connections with folks that way. I've met more comics people at this point in my life than I have sort of your traditional prose authors, but that makes sense because most of my traditional prose author creators that I really like are no longer with us. I would love to have talked with Kurt Vonnegut or heard him speak. Or Ray Bradbury. I actually wrote him some letters in the 90s, and he was nice enough to send me some handwritten notes back. But those connections are a few decades ago. So I would love to have met one of them, though.
I've actually met Howard Chaykin at a Comic-Con one time. I told him how I liked his take on the Shadow. The character of the Shadow is really good. And the Shadow is my favorite classic, pulp character. The what is it called? The bear, the seeds bear bitter. I forget the phrase. I'm so sorry. but the seeds of evil bear bitter fruit or something like that. And the
Mhm.
shadow knows, ha ha ha. Told him how much I liked his run on that, and then I also had him sign it was a limited run of this comic book series that took place in noir days between Robin and Batgirl.
Yeah.
I forget the title of the series. I'm so sorry, I'm blanking on
Thrill
this already.
Killer. Thrill
That
Killer.
there it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had him sign my first issue of that, and then I got it. What do you call it? Graded and slabbed.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it
Yeah.
came out really well. So thank you, Howard Chaikin, and thank you to the people who helped got the comic slabbed and graded. Thank you to I think it's One Stop Comicshop.com. Great job, guys. Great job. Well done. And good story too. So feel free to check that out at your local comic shop for sure. Fantastic stuff. But yeah, no, that's great. Going to Comic Cons for me is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm glad that not only do you go to like book signings and other events in your field of being a teacher and literacy and all that stuff, but you go to Comic Con so you speak the nerdy language that we've all spoken for many years now. So good on you, my friend. Is there anyone at a convention? I mean, I know a lot of you mentioned the folks that are unfortunately no longer with us, but is anyone still currently living that you still want to meet in
I've
person?
not met Mark Wade. Mark Wade would be awesome to meet.
I've met him.
I
Good
just
guy.
want Neil Gaiman to read something to me in Neil Gaiman's voice. It could be over the phone, it could be on a podcast, or it could be in person at a convention. But just would be like, here, read this.
Mhm.
Read this medical diagnosis, whatever whatever it happens to be,
Medical
because I
journal.
think he could kill it. But yeah, Mark Wade would be great to meet. What's he like in person?
Oh, he's really good. He's good. He appreciates the fans. He likes talking about the stuff that he wrote, and hearing about what characters and what runs of the character that you really liked. Whether it was his run on Superman or somebody else's run, he just loves talking your ear off about all things comics, comic books, I should say, in general. Whether it's the DC or Marvel, doesn't matter. I mean, he is a hardcore DC fanatic, considering he's written for them for so many years. And every time I see him, he seems to be wearing a Superman hat. So
Nice.
it's like, okay, I mean, clearly we know where this guy's allegiance is, and not that that's a bad thing, because DC is, one of the pillars, right? It's one of the founding fathers of comics. So nothing wrong with that, Mark. But yeah, he's a nice guy in person. He signed my graphic novels for me. He signed issue #1 of Kingdom Come, and I got it graded and slabbed once again. I like to have not a lot, but a few comics of mine graded and slabbed. I just like to have some of those things. I think it's kind of cool to have as a comic book collector. I know some comic book collectors are against that sort of thing, but I'm okay with it. I like it. Heck, I mean, indie comic book writer Rob Multeri of Lone Wolf Comics, which you can find him on social media at lonewolfcomics.com. I bought a 9.8 of Nightwolf #1 from him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's signed, and it was great. I'm like, hey, I don't have a problem with this because I have the graphic novel that has the first 4 issues of this, series in it, so I can still read it, right? I just have 1 issue slabbed. Big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to have Rob on. I need to have him on my show.
You should. He's got the Kickstarter going on right now. So yeah, are you familiar with his work? Do you have his information?
I'm not. I will have to go and find it.
I will. Hey, we're BFFs here, so I'm going to send you his information for you. I will do that for us. So we're going to slide into those DMs over there, and we're going to send you. We're going to send you his information. And it sounds. Let me see. I'm not sure what this person's trying to say, but hey, we'll let that one slide. So anyway. Aside from that, let's see here. I'm trying to think. So we've gone over comic book conventions. You said Mark Wade is someone you want to meet. Anyone else you want to meet when you go to conventions that you have yet to meet yet?
Oh my goodness. I did mention Neil Gaiman. I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of the folks. Anybody that worked on sort of the Batman adventures, I keep bringing up Batman. That would be really cool because that was a series that connected with me. A lot of my connections go from like film to comics and back around again. And you were talking about sliding into DMs. Someone posing as Jenna Ortega recently slid into my DM. So that was very exciting too. So I don't know, that might turn into some kind of a Comic-Con thing. Probably not.
Right. Right. Well, one can only hope, one can only dream, right? That's all we can do. Who are some of your favorite writers of today that are out there right now? Any indie writers or any other writers you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned John Jackson Miller, of course,
Oh, yeah.
and Stephen King. I'm always on board for whatever Stephen King writes, and I'm always interested in checking that out. Chuck Palahniuk is always somebody whose books I pick up and then I sort of roam through and spend a little time with, and then kind of go, oh, maybe. Stefan Petruka. Stefan Petruka is somebody who worked on the X-Files comics in the 90s and currently writes in the world of prose. Raymond Benson always has really interesting stuff that comes out in the world of suspense and crime fiction as well. So those are just a few that come to mind.
Fantastic. Who knows? Maybe one of these days you can crash through the roof of a Gotham museum and save Vicky Vale, and then you really make a good impression on the readers there.
Absolutely. One can dream. One can dream.
Yeah. And then someone's going to turn around and say, where does he get those wonderful toys?
I love that your quote that you had written in your book from John Jackson Miller is also sort of the cap of my favorite scene.
Oh, it is it? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what made me a comic book movie fan, is when he just crashes through the roof, crashes the party, gets Vicky Vale away from that, insane, thought I was a Pisces person known as the Joker, and greatness ensues. And then the what do you call it? The Danny Elfman score kicks in when he says, "Get in the car." Which one? Batmobile shows up. It's just
right.
It's great. It's fantastic stuff. Well, we do have some questions here provided by our good friends at Poddex. So Poddex wants to know, what's the funniest place you've ever fallen asleep?
The funniest place I've ever fallen asleep. I'm actually not a person that falls asleep easily in many places, I'm sad to say, but maybe a travel bus on the way back from New York for a group of students for a New York trip. That would be sort of one that comes to mind. And then Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's kind of funny in certain ways too, I guess, maybe.
All right. Steel City, home of them Steelers that Marylanders don't like to talk about, because Ravens and the Steelers have a very heated rivalry in NFL football. But I don't watch football, so I'm sorry, I can't help you there, folks. But if you enjoy football, hey, more power to you. I'm more looking forward to when the college basketball season starts, personally, but see how that goes. You any sports you like over there, Jason, or sports not really isn't your thing?
Sports is not really my thing. I always tell my students that I like the Orlando Street Magic, and then I go into this long thing about how it's about like hiding something under cups, and then I play the Anna Kendrick song, and they just look at me like, "Who is this guy?" I'm like, "Yeah, the bottom quarter of the ninth inning, that one." But I've had people try to explain football to me so many times. I don't know if it's the fact that I have like a math thing, like I'm not a very mathematical person, or if it's the fact that, as Nate Brigatte's recently pointed out, it's football, but we mostly use our hands. I don't know what that is, but my friend Sturge is a big hockey fan, and I could get with some hockey. It's an active game. There's lots of hitting stuff with sticks, and so I'm good for that.
I see. Well,
yes.
Just one of those, just one of those things. Sometimes sports isn't for everybody. That's why I stick to comic books, Comic Cons, movies, and all that kind of jazz. I don't mind a certain amount of sports films, but sports not really my thing. However, I am looking forward to college basketball season. That's the only really sport that I'm into anyway. We'll have a really good announcement about that coming up here in the next few weeks concerning college basketball here on NIQuote channel. Make sure you subscribe to this channel so you get notified of when those announcements are made. What's the funniest thing you've seen a kid do?
The funniest thing I've seen a kid do. Oh my goodness.
It could be anything.
I looked back in my classroom one time and I saw a kid sort of like chewing on another kid's hoodie. So that was interesting. And then one time I was teaching a play, and I was like, we're going to act this scene out. We're going to do this in some sort of way. And I can't remember the exact prompt I gave them, but the prompt was something along the lines of like, adapt this creatively. And I had a group of about 4 students do a sock puppet, just on the spot sort of rendering of this story that we had read. And then my first year of teaching back in 2007, I had a student who would always work in Star Wars, Darth Maul, into whatever we were writing. It didn't matter what the prompt was. Hi, Colby, by the way, if you ever check this out. I remember you. He would walk down the hall and sort of do like the Darth Vader breathing as he was walking, which I think is, I mean, that's classic move right there. I need to continue doing that. I need to bring that back. And he would always find the most creative ways to work in those elements. I had a kid who wore a Call of Duty blanket as a cape. And whenever he would read in class, he would jump in and sort of be like And back to the adventures of. And so he was a fun kid. Hi, Gage. Great to see you out there. And so, yeah, lots of fun stories that have accumulated over the years. I taught college, middle school, high school, taught a little elementary, weirdly enough, while I was a college professor. So I've had a nice little smattering of the human experience.
Jeez, man, your resume must be 10 miles long.
We try. We try.
No wonder you're qualified or overqualified to be one of the greatest teachers in American history. So well done, good sir. You've worked with so many young Padawan learners over the years, as one might say in Star Wars terminology, and teaching them how to be Jedi Knights in their own lives. So hey,
if greatest teacher in American history is an award, I'll totally apply, and they'll probably give me like a free oil change. So that would be great.
Sure, why not? Maybe we'll get you a cheap gold watch while we're at it. Who knows? But hey, but more power to you, man. I respect you and all the other teachers out there who are doing their thing. So one of my good friends is over in the state of Virginia. She's a teacher working with elementary school age kids. So keep doing what you're doing, Laura. We love you. What's the most awkward thing that happens to you on a regular basis?
Daily life, I would say, probably. I mean, daily life can be pretty awkward. I would say, as an introvert, putting themselves out there, I had to make choices early on about who was going to be the voice, who was going to be the voice in the classroom, what I was going to do with that, being a naturally shy person. And so that's always kind of that conversation with yourself of, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to go try to make these connections, have these conversations. And then, of course, the fact that there are certain genes, like denim, for some reason, my zipper always goes down when I'm driving. And so when I get to places, I'm like, hey, I'm wide open here. I'm sorry, everybody. Let me make sure I fix that up before I get in here and try this out. So,
oh boy,
humans,
Yeah.
we all have our things.
Yep, gotta be careful of those things. A serious question though: do you count your steps?
I don't. I have an app that can do that, but that is one of the things I enjoy about teaching and public speaking is that most of the time I'm up moving around, if nothing else, out of nervousness and agitation. When I had a desk job, my love of Ben and Jerry's just like added to my middle age spread. So I should probably count my steps, but we all have things we should do. I don't want to shit on myself too much, but we should do things like that.
Understandably so. Is a hot dog a sandwich? And if so, why?
Well, this is a question that has been debated in my classroom many, many times. I know I have a student named Taylor who introduced this question to us. If Taylor's watching out there or gets to see this. And I would say technically, I think the essence of the hot dog is a sandwich. I think you can make that case. I think it's technically a food that has been inserted into the boundaries of another food. So from that general definition, the denotation, if you will, for English teachers out there of a hot dog is a sandwich. But I think in spirit, it is something else. I think that it is its own American intervention. And by American, I mean, of course, inspired by German culture and many other cultures. But I actually think it's more of a hand pie than a sandwich, personally.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Interesting points being made. And we hope hey, we learn something new every day on this program. And we thank every single person who has come across our studios and our stage to be a part of this show. And I want to take this opportunity to say right now, thank you to Jason DeHart for being our guest on this episode of And I Quote. We hope you, who may be watching or listening to this right now, have enjoyed it. Jason, thank you so much for being here, kind sir. You are a gentleman and a scholar. So if someone wants to know more about you or purchase a copy of that wonderful book you got out right now, where can they follow you?
Absolutely. So if you go to NCTE, you can find a copy of the book there. I'll hold it up again, and I bet we have it up on the screen as well. So you can find that there. It's on Amazon and wherever fine books are purchased, enjoyed, and breathed in. And then I also have a Facebook group, Words, Images, and Worlds, where you can go on, you can link in, you can see articles. You can see interviews. I try to put a lot of different things out there, and other comics creators and authors also sometimes post there. You can find me on Instagram at Words, Images, and Worlds. And if you just Google me, you'll see things that I write for spaces like Edutopia, Middle Web, and other things of that nature. I'll also plug my LCS, since we were talking about the local comic shop. Here in North Carolina, my LCS is Heroes Clash in Wilkesboro, North Carolina. So we definitely need to support our booksellers that are out there. I know as a kid growing up, the books would not always be in fresh supply. And so definitely something to keep out into the world. And then I'll tell you about my friend Adam, who does a comics elective class as a middle school teacher. And he and I have a podcast called the Comic Obsessive, which also will appear on the YouTube channel, where you can find my name, Jason DeHart, and lots of videos there. And it is also something that I share on the Facebook group. So lots of ways to connect. And I hope that everybody out there has had a good laugh at some of the things that I've said. And I hope that we get to connect in some way. And as the mug says, this is the mantra. Just do it, writers. Just get out there and do it, and do the things you do.
Get her done.
That's
Get her
right.
done, man. Get that stuff done. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being here and being with us. Congratulations to you and your podcast, your YouTube channel, the book being out, and all the other wonderful things you're doing to encourage young minds of this world, and promoting literacy everywhere you go. We're definitely going to be talking more about that as we go throughout the course of this program, this YouTube channel, and your Facebook group. I'm a part of it. You should be joining it too. Links are located in the description down below. So, Jason, I'm going to be talking to you here in just a moment. My name is Ryan of And I Quote Channel. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Follow us across all forms of social media simply at And I Quote Channel. Links to where you can follow Jason D, DeHart, and myself are located in the description down below. So check out those links. Purchase a copy of his book. Check out the Facebook group. There are a lot of great things over there. And I feel like this guy's got so many episodes of a podcast, I can't keep up with the numbers, Jason. I don't even know how many bloody episodes you have in your repertoire. But what I can tell you, and I want to take this opportunity because I know I may be a day late and $1 short on announcing this, but I want to say that we have surpassed over 200 plus episodes of And I Quote. So I want to say thank you to everyone who made this possible, everyone who put this thing together way back when in the very beginning with the team at Nerd Culture. And thank you to everyone who has supported the show nowadays, with Case helping us behind the scenes with the thumbnails and the backgrounds that you see before you. Some of the graphics you may see are because of him and the intros. He remastered the And I Quote intro. Case, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate it. Follow him on YouTube at the Dutch Star Wars Guy on YouTube. He's got a great channel out there, lots of great content. But yeah, we are over 200 episodes. I think Jason D. DeHart is our 206th guest on this program, if not 207. I'd have to look at the numbers again once I get off air here and look at our data and in the backstage area of our studio. But Jason, thank you so much for being here, kind sir. Once again, we are doing our best to reach 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Help us get there. We're going to throw a great big live stream celebration that will include returning guests, surprise guests, and some special giveaways that you, our incredible viewers / subscribers, are going to be eligible to win. Who knows? Maybe Jason DeHart will come on here with us and share more of his love of comic books and literacy and all that stuff. Jason, you're more than welcome to come back, brother. Also, links are in our social media bios for merch. We got merchandise that's available right now and on sale, no doubt. We also have shirts, we have hoodies, we have water bottles, we have stickers that you can put on those water bottles. We have coffee mugs. Speaking of coffee mugs there, Jason, you may want to get yourself one of our And Our Quote mugs here pretty soon, because they're available and they're on sale right now, brother. Speaking of sci-fi, our good friend Adina Mignona's got a great series out called The Robot Galaxy Series, books 1 through 4, available right now. Buy directly from the authors. Support the writers, why don't you? AdinaMignona.com. It's fun sci-fi adventures for everybody. The Nerdy Entrepreneur says, that was good. Thank you, Nerdy Entrepreneur. We're glad that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. And also, if you want some hard sci-fi meets AI intrigue, check out Lunar Logic, once again, written by our good friend Adina Mignona. Great person, great writer. Check her out. And hey, if you're in a mood for Batman stuff, Batman Resurrection, written by John Jackson Miller, is available right now. And it's a thrilling new sequel to Tim Burton's iconic 1989 film known as Batman. And you know what? It's October. It's October's bright blue weather, which means it's a good time to read, folks. And I think Jason DeHart would agree with us. It's a good time to read in the month of October. It's bright blue weather. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it at all. And if you want something that goes bump in the night, Dante's Reckoning, which is a Western horror mashup written by our good friend indie writer Bobby Nash of Ben Books, is available for pre-order from Valhalla Books right now. And then you can purchase the other two installments of this series available on Amazon, and you can find out more details at benbooks.com. So make sure you check that out. And there are things that go bump in the night. And apparently Dante's Reckoning is going to be the latest adventure that bumps back. So with that being said, thank you so much for being with us. Do not forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified when our videos go up or they go live. Remember, life is better when supporting small businesses and creators from all over the world and those who write great, incredible stories such as this. Take a look.
Choose high-flying action. Choose death-defying escapes. Choose spine-tingling thrills. Choose nail-biting intrigue. Now's your chance to choose the adventure. The Captain Hawkland Adventures. Available on Amazon.com. You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.